And we're live.
Okay. I call the regular council meeting Monday, June 24th, 2024 to order. Is there any introduction of late items? No. Okay. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? Councillor Reid, Councillor Stanberry. All in favor? Carried.
Our first item is the adoption of minutes, that the minutes from the regular council meeting held June 10th, 2024 be adopted.
Got a good mover and seconder. Councillor Noble, Councillor Reid. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Carried.
And are there any questions from the gallery about items on the agenda?
Okay. Go ahead.
So our first item is a presentation from David Adams from Adams Woolley General Accountants presenting the 2023 Consolidated Financial Plan.
Thank you, Sylvie.
Go ahead,
can everybody
David.
hear me all right? Can you hear me all right? Okay, can you hear me all right?
David, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear us?
Hear me? Yeah, I can hear.
Are you
Can
on
hear
mute?
me?
No, I
No.
can faintly hear him, so I think we have a volume issue.
Okay.
Well, that's a bit messed up.
All right, can you hear me now? Can you hear me at all?
We'll just have to wait till it boots up. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Yeah, okay. It'll sing a song.
Okay, perfect.
I think we can hear you now.
Okay, can you hear me?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Let's just see here. All right.
It just
Good.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yay, there we go.
Oh, perfect. Good. Okay.
There we go.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, thank you for getting that all sorted out. Now I'm sharing my screen. Can you actually see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. So this if everybody's ready to go, I'll get rolling on it. This is the financial statement for the December 31st, 2023 year end. So usually at the beginning of the set of financial statements, we have a title page and we have a table of contents, and then we have an auditor's report. And the auditor's report is the sort of 2 pages that provide our opinion on the financial statements. So based on the work that we performed, we were able to provide a clean opinion on the financial statement. And that basically indicates that they are prepared in accordance with public sector accounting standards. So I've got 11 slides for you tonight, and they present the financial statements in a graphical format. So each of the slides shows the past three years of the operation. And you'll see 2021 on the left, 2022 in the middle, and 2023 on the right of each of the slides. So the first slide that we have shows the revenue. And the revenue increased by just over 1% in the past year, to a total of 3.9 million for 2023. Obviously the big revenue for most municipalities is the transfer from other governments. For 2023, that totaled 2.5 million. Last year it was 2.2 million. The year before that it was 2 million. So it's going up sort of each year. And the grants increased at a fairly consistent rate throughout that period of time. The net taxation and grants in lieu are the next one, the red zone that you can see there. And for 2023, they totaled 1.3 million. So that was an increase over last year of about just over 6.8%. That was very close to the budgeted figure. And almost 2.1 million of total tax was collected. And of that amount, about 758,000 was transferred out to RDEK, schools, regional hospitals, BC Assessment Authority, and the police. So all those things sort of flow through, and they don't actually show up as revenue on the village statement. Other revenue items that you can see here include the sale of service, penalties and interest, and a little bit of other revenue. And they totaled in net total, about 85,000. And part of the net total is that there was a loss on disposal of some assets that sort of reduced all those amounts. But basically, the sale of services, beach passes, civic center rentals, kitchen revenues, ice rentals, user fees, and water and sewer collections, all those types of things, all form part of that total. The next page that I have for you is the operating expenses. The operating expenses increased between the years, and for 2023, there was a significant increase. You can see 21 and 22 were fairly consistent. The largest expense in all years, though, is the amortization of the tangible capital assets. There's a significant amount of tangible capital assets, and we basically end up depreciating those amounts down over their expected life. So over the period of time, I mean, if we didn't purchase any more assets at all, they would eventually work their way down to zero, just through the amortization policy. So all the assets include pipes and equipment. So as they wear out, we depreciate them. And the depreciation really sort of reflects an estimate of the decline in the usability or the utility of those items. The next item that we have on the list here is the gain or loss on disposal of capital assets. That was sort of showing as an expense here, and that was an offset against the revenue on the previous page. The green shows leisure parks and cultural items, and that totals 889,000 for the year. So that's an increase of about 76,000. And that's because the childcare center came on stream during the year. So that includes all the recreation wages, facility operating costs, and the childcare center. The general government items include council expenses and general administrative salaries, and that's about just over 600,000. And transportation services total about 398,000, and that's a 35% increase over the past year. We've got water and waste and sanitary sewer, which are very close to the same figure for last year. And protective services, which includes fire, bylaw, and animal control. And those items increased by about 20% for the year. So the smaller items at the top that are just sort of little bit amounts include economic development and environmental health for the year. The next slide that we have shows the assets for the village, and it's overall. So this is the start of the statements of financial position. So the statement of financial position basically shows the assets, the liabilities, and the overall surplus of the village. So we've got here assets including cash and short-term investments shown in blue, and the accounts receivable shown in green. You can see that those two together sort of form part of the cash or expected cash to come in very shortly, and that's sort of declining over the 3 years that you see here. We've got let's see here, financial assets. Yeah, the cash is the largest financial asset. So it's virtually identical to the previous year, and it fluctuates daily based on the timing of cash received and the payments made. The accounts receivable, 580,000 that you can see, and that includes taxes receivable, utilities accounts, and anything else that is expected to come in over the next 12 months. So of this cash, the breakdown is shown here, and the cash is the restricted cash. So the restricted items are for deferred revenue. So when cash comes in for future programs, it's sort of sitting in the account, but it's sort of sitting there earmarked for items that are to be paid for in future years. We call that deferred revenue. And that $1.8 million includes deferred revenue. It also includes the reserves that are on hand for future projects. So of all the cash, the $2.9 million of cash that's sitting there, really 1.1 million of it is usable at this point. The statutory reserve funds, when you take a look, include asset management reserves, fire department capital, and water development. And you can see a nice increase this year over the last couple of years. So asset management has increased up to 222,000. Fire department has decreased a little bit down to 96,000. The water capital and water development have increased, and they could very well be used for changes in the water system that may be coming up over the next year or two. The non-statutory reserve funds that we have include community works, roads capital, arena, just equipment reserve for general equipment replacement, growing communities funds that are sort of declining every year. There's still a bit of a COVID-19 Safe Restart grant that is still available for use. And then there's some, much smaller amounts included in cemetery care, sewer, and all of these things. You can see that the non-statutory reserves are lower in 2023 than they have been in the previous couple of years. The accounts receivable include revenues from other governments that are receivable over the next period of time, taxes receivable, GST recoverable, and trade receivables and others. So all of these, obviously the big one is other government, and the taxes that are receivable are showing as a little bit higher than in previous years, but all of those are eventually collectible, whether they end up going to tax sale or whatever it is. There's always very few to no bad debts on those tax items. The non-financial assets that are shown on the statement of financial position include the tangible capital assets, and again, that's all the equipment and physical assets that I'll show you the detail of in a second, and the prepaid expenses. So the prepaid expenses include mostly insurance items. So if you pay for an insurance policy for a year, and only a portion of it is used by the end of the year, so that just rolls forward as a prepaid expense. So the physical assets that we have include, the biggest one is engineering structures. And you can see sort of from one year to the next, that number is fairly consistent, really, with just depreciation on them every year. There's some increases in some of the overall structures, but decreases based on the amortization that's going through. The buildings this year has increased from 4.2 million up to 6.1 million. The capital work in progress was 3.2 million last year, and a lot of that has moved into the buildings this year, so that's been reduced down to 1.2 million. Equipment overall has been fairly consistent, between 1.2 and 1.1 million, and the land hasn't changed over the last few years, so that remains the same. So overall, these are very consistent. Really, the net final amounts haven't really changed much from one year to the next. The liabilities that we have include borrowing. The blue is showing the borrowing. So back in 2021, it totaled about 2.7 million. The last couple of years, it's rounded out to 2.6 million, but you're actually paying that down close to 100,000 a year. But the way the rounding looks, it hasn't really changed it a whole lot. Deferred revenue, again, those are the amounts that are received, cash received, but payable for future projects that haven't yet been completed by the end of December. So that's up from 607,000 last year to 825,000 this year. And overall accounts receivable, or accounts payable, I should say, and accrued liabilities. So anything that is sitting on the books that you've had an expense for, but it hasn't yet come out of the bank at this point. So the total for that is about 472,000. So overall, the liabilities are reasonably consistent with prior years. Now, the last slide I'll show you is the fund balances, and this is probably, if anything, close to what I would say maybe is the most important of all of the slides. And it shows at the bottom, you've got in the purple, it's the equity and tangible capital assets. And that's the ownership of the assets that you've got. So it's the purchase price of those assets minus the depreciation on them. And it subtracts off also the any borrowing or loans that you've got against those assets. So right now you essentially own, excluding debt and everything, you own about $31.4 million of tangible capital assets. The reserve fund at 1.4 million, and the operating fund surplus. So the operating fund surplus is increased this year by about 60,000 over last year. And the operating fund surplus is really the accumulated operating fund surplus since the village was first incorporated. And even actually previous to that, when the village was an improvement district. So essentially, to summarize the year, the operating fund surplus has improved yearly over the past few years. So that's a good sign. It's going in the right direction. Over that same period of time, the reserve funds have fluctuated, but they've averaged between about 1.4 million and 1.8 million. And the financial position overall, as you can see, is working its way up. So it's fairly stable and there's no huge changes from one year to the next. Of course, there's never enough, cash available to put, enough money into the reserve funds, but that should always be sort of the goal, is to sort of plan for future projects, put away the funds into the reserve funds, and have them available for when that project needs to happen. And that's everything I've got for you this evening. Thanks for your attention.
Any questions? You have a question? No question. Thank you.
Thank you.
And our next item is a presentation from Sean Doherty and Paul Martel from the Canal Flats Community Society support for the splash pad.
Hey guys, again. I think you all know me. My name is Sean Doherty, president of the Canal Flats Community Society. Paul ourselves joined our group. He does all our big project stuff because he's pretty good at it. So he's done, when he was on council, he did the water going up David's Nest. I believe he had a lot to do with that. But he was a great proponent in getting the pavilion done, him and Adrian. That was something that the Community Society kind of pushed. Our next project is the splash park. Now the splash park is something that we have on, we did a study, and that's what the people wanted. So we're kind of feeling like we're spinning our wheels a lot with, we say, can you do this? And you say, can you do that? And we go back and forth and back and forth, and we're not really getting anything done. So the fact that it's on the plan and all we're trying to do is just facilitate it to happen. It's something that's on the books to happen. The study to see if there's enough water to run the splash park should have already happened because it's on the plan, you would think. But it's apparently we don't have it, so we don't know if the splash park would bill or the water bill to handle the splash park. So Paul has a few things he would like to bring to our attention, and I'll just hand it over to him.
Okay. Mayor Councilor. Mr. I guess we have to kind of sit down and look at a number of things. Community group has really helped Canal Flats in getting projects off the ground and running. The building public washrooms, it dates back to the days when the provincial government wanted to take over our beach or disenfranchise our beach, I guess, took it over and ran it. So this community group has done nothing but positive things for our village. And this is one more addition. The public work, or the plan, parks plan for the village identified the splash park, as Sean has mentioned. And so I guess maybe I'd like to point out what a splash park really is. It's basically a great way for our kids to spend time cooling off in the summer. It's an irrigation system that is concentrated, accessible for kids to enter and leave. It is safe in all regards because there's no standing waters. There's no water where they can fall down into and drown or hurt themselves. It's well supported as a just a great facility for kids throughout. They're in Radium, they're in Ennis, Invermere, there's 2 or 3 in Kimberley, there's 3 or 4 of them in Cranbrook. All of them operated by the village or the centers. None of the village indicated any problems with water or usage. So these have been supported by the public, by the plan. We have letters from the school, we have letters from the child care center. Parents and grandparents think this is a great project. And so now we come to why we're here today. So the company who we've asked to put this plan or do the whole project together basically says they will raise the funds to build this park. And as long as we use them to build the park, supply the equipment to build the park, there'll be no costs to the village for raising the funds and no charges to the village other than we hope that the village will attach the water and sewer lines. That's the only cost that should be run on this. Getting money to build these things is a big job. It's expensive to build these parks of any kind. The simple little playground parks, like at the school, are over $100,000. This park is probably in the range of $300,000. So finding the funds and building this facility, which would be ended up being owned and operated by the village, is a big asset improvement to our community. They have found, fundraisers have found a grant that's been made available to Canada, actually. It's through the Employment and Social Development Canada. They've opened what they call an Enabling Accessibility Grant small project component. The accessibility part is the key word of that grant. And water parks are extremely accessible. You can walk in, you can hold your wheelchair in, you can crawl in, whatever you want to do, because there's no edges to climb over, no barriers to it at all. And extremely safe because the water doesn't stay in the park. Just as it sprays and comes back, it disappears. So the accessibility of the splash park is one of the key reasons they're funding this project. Now, this grant is available. They require to get a letter from the village indicating that the village owns the property that supports the project. And other requests made are for other supporting letters. They've asked for letters from our MLA, from our MP, which we've got for both. We want pictures of the site. And this grant is a bit of a timeline on when it gets spent. So to apply for this grant, with one component that we're missing is unmitigated approval of the support and just to support the operation and the maintenance of this facility. So that's what we're asking for today. We requested today a signed letter on village stationery indicating both management and council approval and support. Both councilors will pass a motion, preferably this evening, as we're on a bit of a timeline with this thing, to direct management to prepare and sign this letter for full support of the project now. And we'll agree to the operation and maintenance like any other village assets. And it's also imperative that all donors to this project, and we've already had a number of people donate money. Funds were raised at Canal Days, and they were turned over and made available to the Splash Park project. So there's more. But it's important that our donors, the Callis, have the assurance that the village is behind this as well. Our chosen contractor indicates recent correspondence that based on a similar reply, we'd likely be open about 10 weeks. So you basically open it the last week of June, so that it's ready for the long weekend of July. And they close it out to the long weekend of September. The time that this project operates is on a building, it's on a permit issued by the Interior Health. They dictate when the project can be open, when you can open your splash park, the hours of operation during the day. So probably about 10 days. For this, maintenance staff costs would be approximately $1,500. This is a figure that's been given to us by the project designer and operator. They figure that there's, once this thing is put together, it's basically, you set it up, it operates like an irrigation system. Push the button, the water comes on at a designated time, like it's a sprinkler system that would operate, say, if you say 11 to 5, at 11 o'clock the water is available. Person in the park pushes the button and a section of the park opens. That would run for a while, then it moves to another section. So it's different areas of the park are available. Some are for little toddlers, some are for a little bit more aggressive people. The different sections are available. So even if the thing is, so the minute it runs for a number of minutes. So if there's nobody there, it's not operating. If they're there and they're only going in and out of the park for 5 minutes, it's the only time it operates. So it's one of the things. There's basically little electricity used. The cost of water is the only charge, and we ask. We've in discussions with Mr. Wakeman, we've talked about a flow-through system. So this is fresh water continually. So there's no charges for recycling the water. If you recycle the water, you have to purify it, filter it, etc. So that involves chemicals, that involves staff to manage and operate those chemicals, receive the training to manage those chemicals. So a closed use system is very efficient in cost. The rest of it is basically clean up, which is part of this clean every day anyway. And in the fall, when you have to mobilize so that prevent frost damage. Same as you do for the irrigation system, the rest of the expensive operation built. There's no meter on water usage, so there's nowhere to compare water usage for other facilities that are built. We don't know how much water the arena uses. We have no clue on how much water the irrigation system for our ballpark, park itself, the Discovery Center grass, all the other places, like the beach park. We have no idea how much water they use. There's no charge for it. So this would be a similar situation for the park, for the splash park. The going on to Mr. Wakeman, the administrative officer, has asked us to supply some particular information on its usage. And we haven't replied to you simply because once we got into trying to find all the answers that we asked for, such as the sustainability chart or sustainability project, estimate of the cost of what would be harmful or overuse of our water facilities is an expense. We got a quote from Jan, the engineer, of over $5,000 if it's done in conjunction with the sustainability project or study that the village is already doing. So we're not seeing why we have to do an additional study when the village is already doing. Engineering timelines and project development, which is where the request. We'll get all the engineering details and stuff when we have the money. The people that we selected to build this park are not going to give us engineered drawings and schedules, and we don't know when we'll have enough money to actually go ahead. So before we've got an estimated amount of money that they think based on similar projects that they built around the province in Canada, and we get all the details of the engineering and so forth. So basically, it's a project that will do nothing but enhance our park. Its cost of operating is expected to be very, very minimal. Nothing that the existing staff would do bad, just to their ongoing duties. Anything else to
I think you covered quite a bit.
Too much?
No.
Great.
Any questions?
Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
One comment, you did mention that Cranbrook has 4 water features and that none of them are shut down and there's no issues, which is actually incorrect. It's been widely radio advertised that they are having significant water issues. With that, it's on the radio. So
yeah.
They are having a lot of water source issues, so pipes that are failing and unable to provide correct flow and everything. So my issue has never been anything. I think it would be a fantastic addition to our community. I just worry about making it sustainable and not having something that ends up shutting down because we have a flow issue is my concern. That's it.
Thanks for that information. When I spoke to Cranbrook, I had no the information I received this number of months ago was that they had no issues with anything. And just knew that all the parks were greatly used and much more by the citizens. So basically, talking parks managers or people rating them in every area. One of them indicated that there's any problems with ours.
Okay, any other questions? Go ahead.
So
CEO.
through the mayor,
So Urban Systems, what was their response? So why did they want you to do the engineering assessment?
Well, I guess, John, you talked to Doug?
I got an email from Jan saying it was gonna be another $5,000 on top of jumping on the piggyback in the study that he's doing with you guys already. But my concern is that it is something that the village has determined is supposed to be in the park. And it should have been studied already that it could handle, like I think you've already looked at the cost of a hall. You think you would have added the water park as part of that study. If it comes down to it and we have to carry that cost, I guess that's what we would have to do, keep things moving forward, but I believe it's the village's responsibility to see if they can handle their own water park that they want to install in the park. That's where I'm coming from.
So my question is, was that study done?
So look at me, Mr. Mayor. So no, there was no water flow study done. It was a vision and a visionary piece, so none of that work was done. It's my understanding that Urban Systems requested the engineering assessment because the people that do modeling looked at the flow rates from the park and thought that they were significant enough that they should look at it because it will have an effect on the system. So that's why they requested the additional work. It suggests that we tie that into other work to reduce the costs, but it's going to take some time. So for instance, the Housing Society is putting upwards of $17,000 towards the water modeling as we extend our housing development. So the park is kind of part of that. These are significant amount of assets, and the worst possible thing that could happen is we put $300,000 into a water park that we can't turn on. That would be absolutely worth. So
Which is happening in Cranbrook at the Kingsland Park.
And that, yeah, but that's different than what we got. So that's because of, no water.
Yeah.
That's why.
So
Or-
do you guys have a timeline on when this engineering study could be done?
So go to
Yes, through the mayor, the early fall, it'll be done, but it'll take a
That's too long.
That's good. It's an interesting conundrum in that our water is sourced from Kootenai River, supplying our aquifers. I think that's a known fact in this village. It's not so much a fact that we don't have water. It's probably more of a fact that we're handling it from, through the pumping and distribution system.
Yeah.
I think we have water.
Yeah, I don't think that's correct.
So through.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm not arguing that we don't have water, it's capacity. I like the idea of the spray park, I just want to make sure that we're just doing our due diligence, that's all, and like I said, the worst thing that can happen is that we put a water park up there and we can't turn it on. We upgrade our system, but when we do, people start losing volume. So,
It's a 6-inch pipe that runs past the park that we'd be tying into. We need a 2-inch line to the park, which makes you think that, okay, well, we're gonna take 2/3 of the water, but it's 10 times more volume in a 6-inch pipe than there is in a 2-inch pipe. So
That's,
I can only go by our engineering model. So,
And I guess I kind of argue with the engineering, I just don't think we have a water crisis of any nature in this village. I think we can irrigate our fields if we can, as reported in a report, plan on selling water in the future.
yeah,
I don't see that this small water park is enough water to put anything else in jeopardy.
I tend to agree with you, and I think this project is a good project and something I would like to see go forward. And I know you guys can't get the engineering stuff until you get a letter from us that says we support it. I do support it. I would like to see it go forward. I don't believe it will be a strain on the water system. But you know, I do want to see it go forward, so I'm in favor of it. And I'm in favor of giving you guys a letter of support because you guys can't do anything until you get a letter of support. And that grant is gonna be on reach once by the time that happens, and then we're all missing out.
Are you good to put a forward motion for another?
I am gonna put forward a motion to have a letter of support written to, for the splash park and the, community group. Can I get a second there?
Yes.
Councillor Noble? Any discussion? All in favor? Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, anything else?
All we did. You're going.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys. Appreciate you looking at the tax.
I have a sample of the type of letter that we'd like to receive. Okay, please.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is the bylaw enforcement report for May and April. The community enhancement quarterly report for the months of April and May 2024 we received for information.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor Noble? Any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Reid.
Just for clarification, I see both in May and June, there is completed PC by law enforcement officer course. Can we just get some clarification on that? Is she continuously doing more education, or is she educating herself every month and completing something, or is this a copy and paste error again?
Go,
Yeah,
go ahead, go ahead.
She is taking new courses.
Okay, so we will, yeah. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Carried.
The building permit report for May 2024 to be received for information.
Gotta get a mover and a seconder. Sorry. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried.
The Canal Flats Fire Rescue Report for May 2024 prepared by Fire Chief Farrell be received for information.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor Noble and Councillor Stanberry. Any discussion? Councillor Reid?
So the UBCM 2024 Fire Smart grant for $400,000 has been submitted. I'd like to say thank you for taking this on after it was stalled and moving this forward. It's a really big, important piece for our village. So thank you to staff and to Chief Farrell.
And go ahead, Councillor.
We gotten, that yet? And we don't get the grant if we don't have a person, correct?
Good Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's not true. We get the grant so we can get a person.
Oh.
Okay. Any other questions?
I do.
Okay, Councillor.
I was wondering if it's possible to get a list or a roster of like who's on the fire department in first aid. Is that
Okay,
possible?
yeah, it is, yeah. Just
That's
have to
a
ask.
motion for that?
No, we just have to ask.
Yeah.
Just
Go ahead.
that would happen through the mayor, that would be a confidential, like that won't be for public distribution, that would just be for council.
Okay, any other questions?
So we don't have to. motion.
No. Okay, all in favor?
When would we get it?
What can you get?
It's the last week of tax time, so I can't guarantee, I have no idea. Okay, but we can.
Next week.
Yeah, we could have
I
it.
can't.
It could be.
Okay, so
tomorrow.
what we have to do.
Well, I'm like a month from now,
Oh.
yeah. Put in my notes.
Okay. Okay, all in favor? Carried.
The council received the May 2024 Public Works Report for information.
They can move it or seconder. Councillor Reid, Councillor Noble. Any discussion on this one? All in favor? Carried.
The council received the Parks and Recreation report for information.
Can I get a mover and a second? Councilor Reed, Councilor Stanberry. Any discussion? Councilor Reed.
I just wanted to say I'm happy to see that Tom's back at the beach. I really appreciate the fantastic job that he does. And all his efforts. I stopped by the beach today and Pat's super friendly, didn't have a clue who I was. And very engaging, very friendly, so that was lovely to see. And staff-wise, Olivier, he has been our Zamboni driver and does a lot with the everything. I just wanted to mention that every single time I saw him this past season, and even today I saw him, he's very enthusiastic and has a very strong work ethic. I think we should recognize our staff.
Okay, yes, you're right. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried.
The consolidated financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2023. The council received and approved the consolidated financial statements year ended December 31, 2023, submitted by Adams Woolley Chartered Professional Accountants.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councilor Reed, Councilor Stanberry. Discussion. Anybody got any questions or anything on that? Okay. All in favor? Carried.
That council approved the engagement of Adams Woolley Chartered Professional Accountants as auditors for the year ended December 31st, 2024.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councilor Noble and Councilor Stanberry. Discussion. All in favor?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, this is when I was kind of going through.
Oh, okay, sorry. Go ahead.
The annual reports, this is one.
It's not yet engaging.
Oh, thank you for that. Sorry.
Okay, all in favor? Carried.
The 2023 Statement of Financial Information Report, that the 2023 Statement of Financial Information, SOFI report, be approved and that the Mayor and Chief Financial Officer be authorized to sign the approval form.
I get a mover and a seconder. Councilor Reed, Councilor Stanberry. Discussion. Any questions? No? Okay, all in favor? Carried.
The annual report that the draft Village of Canal Flats annual report for January 1st to December 31st, 2023 be received for information.
I get a mover and seconder. Councilor Noble and Councilor Thompson. Any discussion?
This one. This is for the public hearing. Or this one's for the, is this for the public hearing?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is not, no, sorry, if I may explain it. So
Yes.
the annual report, when Mr. Wakin was creating the report from the public information meeting, we had the annual report in the back of our heads. So we've taken some of that information to form the annual report.
Okay.
But there are some legislative segments that had to be included, such as the permissive tax exemptions and financial statements, and so the financial statements had to be included.
Okay, anything further? All in favor? Carried.
The phase 1 dike environmental report, that council received the phase 1 environmental site assessment for information purposes, and that council approved the CAO to sign the waiver of environmental liability for the dike land site for CAN 4, and that council approved the CAO to move forward with the dike land transfer.
Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councilor Thompson and Councilor Stanberry. The discussion. Okay. Councilor.
On page 84. Question.
Well, that's the previous
Oh, the previous one?
item. So if I may.
Yeah.
To answer any of the questions, this is basically just copied and pasted from the financial bylaw.
Okay.
So this was previously adopted. This just needs to be included in the annual report.
Okay.
No question?
Well, it's already been. Sorry.
Yeah, but it was.
Well, you know what, we will listen to additional questions, go ahead.
It's just a quick one. I just want to clarify and I
Sure.
gotta find it again. It just says other sources. Can you just clarify what other sources are? For me?
Table 1,
Yeah,
9.9% other sources. Is that the one?
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
If I may, so it could be sales of service, photocopying, faxes, dog licenses,
Okay, and so
any
then,
dog keys, things like that.
So anything that's listed in.
Yeah.
This would be considered other.
okay. And then on table 2, it says major industries 4, but there's like 0 property tax assessments. Is there just,
We just don't have any.
copy and pasted or?
Go ahead, CEO.
So, yeah, so we did have 4. That classification for major industrial was changed to light industrial. That would create us for this light industrial. So that's an error, it should be just 0.
And then managed forest.
We don't have any.
We don't have any.
So that's 0 too.
Oh, yeah, sorry, this, if I just remember.
Yeah, go ahead.
So those numbers are the classification number, not the number of, is the property class number.
Oh.
That's given to you, not the number. of properties.
Yes.
If I may, that the number is assigned
Five,
by, is that to the property, each property is assigned a number.
Okay,
Yes, that's the.
Sorry.
so that was just wondering about.
Further questions? Okay. All in favor? Carried.
Okay, so the dike land resolution is still.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so the dike land is the one with the waiver?
Yeah.
We have a copy of the waiver?
Do we have a copy of the waiver?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mayor, no, it's confidential to the village and Canfor. So it's a waiver just indicating that, they're not liable for any future, environmentals. So we can bring that in camera at next.
And that's only on the property that,
That's only on
The
the,
dike property.
okay, because area.
Yeah.
The one where they were dumping everything. Right next to it, that's still their liability.
so through the mayor, so. You remember we initiated the phase 1 environmental to use, so we know from our perspective, and have an independent look at that sliver of dike, basically the road. They did recommend that we do some soil sampling in the area next to, on the bend, where the old shipyard used to be. However, that area we are not working in. It was already remediated from, it already has a road there. We're not doing any work there at all. So it's already covered. And soil was taken out, which I'm not sure why they didn't recognize that.
Okay, so then are we responsible for anything that's dug up that like is contaminated or anything? Is that?
So through the
Yeah, go ahead.
So through the mayor, so we are not removing any soil at all. We're just building it up, so we are not doing
Okay.
digging, we're not doing any of that. And based on the report, there was no, that roadway has been there and has been undisturbed since like the 1940s or something.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor? Carried.
The next item is the 2024 UBCM Conference Ministers Meetings. That council received the ministry letters for information, and that council approved staff to submit letters to the respective ministries prior to the 2024 UBCM conference.
Okay, mover and second. Council Noble and Councilor Stanberry. Any discussion?
One question.
Sure.
On the, discussion regarding environmental ones, the one that you just gave us. Does it have to be specified what kind of water treatment we're doing, or?
Go ahead.
Through the mayor. I don't believe so. This letter is really just to give us an introduction to them. By the time we meet in September, I hope we will have more information from Interior Health. We actually sit at the table.
And we'll also have some information from the committee that we're formed to. Yeah, go ahead.
So from my experience last year, that is how we submitted the letters. And then during our meetings, if we were awarded a meeting, then we provided more information or clarification.
Yep.
At that time, as we had the information available to us.
Okay, any other questions? Is there any other ministers you wanted to talk to? I don't. Was it? Okay. Okay.
So no.
All in favor then. Carry.
Fabric and structure and canvas structures policy, that the fabric and canvas structures policy be adopted.
Okay, gonna move her in seconder. Councilor Reed, Councilor Stanberry. Discussion.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Maintaining standards, will you have anything in here for if they fall apart? Is that in there? Did I miss it?
I didn't.
Yeah, like if they fall apart or faded or torn, do we have like a time limit that they have to be removed or replaced?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Already to Councillor Cobza, that would be helped or dealt with through bylaw enforcement issues. Then it would become unsightly, then it would become, because some people are saying they're good for 20 years. I'm not sure about that. So if it's still in good shape, then we would, you know, we can't enforce that. If you can't make somebody take it down, so we don't have the resources for that. But if it becomes unsightly, then that's something we would address that or unsafe.
Permit cost.
Yeah, go ahead.
Doherty, it would be the same. It's basically a placement, so $175.
Anything further?
That's all I have.
All in favor? 2. Yeah, all opposed? 2. Okay, I'm in favor of it.
Sorry, I'm just gonna ask for a tally again.
Okay.
So
So who's in favor?
Cobbs and Stanbury.
And Doherty.
And Doherty.
Opposed?
Yes.
Okay.
And the last item is to convene to in camera under section 91K, proposed provision of municipal service, that the meeting convened to in camera under Community Charter section 91K, proposed provision of municipal service at 7:27.
Okay, I got a mover and a seconder. Councilor Stanberry, Councilor Reed. All in favor? Great.